Welcome back to Product Data Weekly. This is a short practical podcast where each week we break down the operational issues that slow down launches, create manual work, or quietly limit growth inside product data in e-commerce teams. There's no theory, no hype, just what we actually see happening inside catalogs at scale. I'm Claire, co-founder of SKU Launch and Start With Data.
Hi everyone, it's Ben here again. Good to be chatting again, Claire.
Okay, so we have decided to start a slightly new feature this week, and this is, we're going to call it maybe Product Data Doctor, I think is what, haven't told Ben that's what we're going to call it, but where we are, we're going to take a problem that either we've kind of helped sort for a customer, or what we would also like to do is invite people to submit their product data problems, and we will try and break it down for them. So, we would obviously do that anonymously. Yeah, we're going to start off with a product data problem that we've actually solved before. So this was a shoe retailer that came to us. They had around, I think it was 11,000 products, and they needed to do a Magento to Shopify migration. Ben, do you want to give a bit more context about the actual product data problem that we were working with?
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of like this is. I mean, obviously it's specific to a customer, but it's a general problem that we seem to see time and again. It's like, a customer decides to relaunch their e-commerce site on a new platform. So let's say in this case, they're moving to Magento to Shopify. Shopify has a fundamentally different product data model to Magento. So it structures things differently and it manages things differently, and terminology is different. And the way that you manage the data and the structure is different. So it's like, how do I get 11,000 products from Magento into Shopify, and how do I ensure that my new website is better than my old website?
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like a really silly statement. I don't think anyone asks that question really a lot of the time when it comes to the product
they're
data.
more worried about all of the cool features,
the red buttons,
and things like that.
red or green button,
UX.
Yeah, so that's the context really. It's like, how to ensure your migration and your new platform launch is really good in the context of product data.
Okay, so and how do people do it? What's the main way that people do it? Is it just a manual thing, or what are they doing?
I think it's I think the main way people do it is they run an export from their legacy system. So let's say Magento or an ERP, and then they spend about probably a month in a spreadsheet trying to run macros and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
To sort it all out. And then sometimes we see tooling used. That's usually how we do it. And then alongside that, people often just try and recreate the same structure. I think that's what
in the new platform.
In the new platform, yeah.
Which normally has limitations because of the different platforms, right?
Well, or the data and structure itself was wrong in the first place. Yeah. I think that's what we see a lot.
Cool. Yeah. So let's break it down then into how would we tackle it?
All right. So let's think about the 11,000 shoe SKU retailer. So I guess the first thing to say is when one of the first questions we always ask prospects is, how many products have you got? And the answer is always, I think I've got X number of products. And then we say, well, are they products? Are they variants? Are they sellable SKUs? Are they parent SKUs? All that stuff. So in the world of shoes, it's a perfect example, right? Because shoes come in lots of sizes, lots of colours, sometimes different widths, for running shoes and stuff. So one single shoe style might show up as actually 40 or 50 rows of data of SKUs, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at 11,000 rows of data, what you're really looking at is 1,500 shoes, because there's 1,500 shoes with all those different size, colour, width variations. So I guess the first thing just to do is stop thinking about it as 11,000 things and start thinking about it as 1,500 things with just the variation sitting underneath them. And once you see it that way, the prospect of cleaning, migrating and enriching 11,000 things suddenly becomes a lot smaller. Okay, when you actually realize it's 1,500 things, mostly 1,500 things. So that's that. Before you do anything, you got to get the terminology right. Yeah, that's the thing.
Know what your data actually is.
An ERP item product is almost always a sellable thing, a sellable SKU. Variant product. A PIM or a e-commerce platform product is always often the parent thing. And just in the terminology world, okay? So that's the first thing you need to think about. After that, what we would do is we would run something called profiling, which is basically just a really fancy word for having a really good look at the data in your existing, that's come out of your existing system. And you will, when you profile the data, you'll look for missing values, you'll look for duplicates, you'll look for the same product listed twice. You'll probably find things that aren't even products at all, because a lot of the time people store things like packaging and stuff in their ERP or in the back end. Services is a good one. We often see so there are things in there you shouldn't be bringing into your new e-commerce platform. Okay, so it's like find out what those things are and discount them effectively. So that's profiling, and then be clear on what's missing. So that's step one. So then after that, step two is about structure. And I guess this is the thing, because you can either migrate try and migrate the existing same structure. So when we say structure, we literally mean like the classification or categorization structure that these products sit in, as well as the way they're modeled for product variation. You could try and lift and shift it. The reality is, when you launch a new website, it's a really good opportunity to relook at your taxonomy and your app model. Okay. So alongside doing your profiling, you should also be probably designing a new taxonomy and attribute model. You can take your existing data as an input, but let's do a real example, right? So it's like today in the category structure, maybe there's a 2-level hierarchy where it's just, I don't know, shoes and then men's shoes or something like that. Tomorrow, there could be more granularity under men's shoes. You could have like running shoes, casual shoes, that sort of thing. And the reason you do that is because it gives more granularity for the customers to, narrow down their search. And it obviously happens, supports geo, SEO, all that sort of stuff. So, and then on the attribute side, it might be that, men's shoes in the current website has like 3 filters, but actually it warrants a material filter and a, platform, sole filter, sole type,
or a
whatever.
heel height or whatever
This is terrible. This is terrible knowledge of shoes.
You can tell you only buy running shoes.
Running shoes and trainers. Should have used trainers, shouldn't I? So the point. You might design a new product attribute model for each category that's much more granular and more customer centric, and you probably don't have all of that data for those attributes. So a better categorization, taxonomy, a better attribute model. So that's the second thing you do. And what you've got then basically is you've got the old data that's been profiled, and then you've got the new target data model on the other side, which you're going to create in your new e-commerce platform, in this case Shopify. And now basically the question is, how do you move the old data that's valid into the new structure, and then how do you fill in all the gaps? Okay, that's basically where it all ends up at. You got your source, you got your target, and this is where it gets kind of quite interesting, and this is where AI and stuff has really accelerated the game, because gone are the days where you had to sit and manually map one by one one attribute into the new model and change the structures. You can now do a lot of that with AI models and things. So that's kind of how you could map the data from one to the other. I think the other thing is then how you fill in missing gaps. So this is something we see a lot in like SKU launch projects, where maybe like the old platform had good descriptions for every product, but didn't have granular attributes stored for every product. Whereas the new platform, you want to extract like, sold type and material. You can use the old content to extract the attributes that you need for the new website. Yeah, so that's one way of filling gaps. Another way might be going off to all your suppliers and getting them to fill the gaps. I think we've done a whole episode on this, didn't we, a while ago?
Yeah, the different ways of sourcing the information, yeah.
And the last thing I would just say on that activity is not every attribute needs to be enriched or populated for every single item, because in the shoe example, you will only really hold descriptions of the shoe probably at the size color level, probably at the color level or the level above that, not at the size level. Okay. Yeah. Because there's no point, because you're not going to be like, this is a size 42 shoe.
For
this
people
is a size
with massive feet.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because that might be good for agentic, actually, mightn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. So you're not having to duplicate all of that work again.
It's like when someone says, we're going to have to enrich 11,000 descriptions. No, you're probably going to have to enrich more like 1,500 descriptions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and then obviously just hold the specific size, color attributes at the variant levels. Yeah, and so if you do all that and you get a nice clean data set, you structure imported in Shopify. It doesn't make the import Shopify any easier, because that is, that still involves running imports and mapping the attributes in. But the point is you end up with a much better data structure and data set in your new platform that then will drive better search, better filtering, better GEO, SEO, all of the other things we talk about in the other episodes. Yeah. So there you go.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Product Data Doctor. Maybe I should get you a stethoscope and a white coat for next time.
Why not? Send us your dirty product data.
Or dirty data. Maybe that could be another one.
And you can anonymize it. What we could do, Claire, is we could just go and pick on some companies, couldn't we?
Well, that's the other option. Yeah.
All right.
Though we don't want any lawsuits, so let's see what happens. And if you have any specific problems that you actually want to talk through with Ben or myself, you can find us on LinkedIn or on our websites. We obviously talked very high level of what we do on this particular problem, but we have some very clever ways of automating a lot of this stuff and some slick processes. So if you want us to help you speed up that process and take the pain out of it, you know where to find us. Thank you very much and have a great week.
Speak to you next week. Thanks, Claire.
Bye.
Bye.